Welcome to Rockstar Doctor Life. I'm Melissa Longo, and each episode, my guests and I will bring you fresh, fun ways to rock your life as a health professional and create a business that aligns with who you are and the life you want to live. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Rockstar Doctor Life. Joining me for a great conversation about life, practice, and all things related to rocking it in your life and business is Dr. Andrea Friese. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are you doing, Dr. Melissa?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to learning about your life and experience in your practice. I know that you're doing some interesting things and helping a lot of people in your practice and also in programs outside your practice. So before we dig into that, let me just get a snapshot for listeners. Like, who is Dr. Andrea? What are you doing these days? Give us sort of like a little snapshot of your life right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dr. Andrea, and my last name is pronounced Friese, which you were not able to do because it's German. I grew up in Germany for pretty much half of my life, and then I'm been now in California for the last 20 years. I'm a chiropractor. I have a private practice. I do correction care chiropractic. I'm loving it. I graduated from Life West Chiropractic College in 2004. I have two beautiful boys who sometimes go on my nerves, but that I think is totally normal. And, they're boys. I love living in California. It's great. Finally, it's raining right now. We haven't had any rain. And rain translates into snow, and snow means going skiing. So I'm pretty psyched about that. I also been doing Women of Iron. We can talk about that a little bit later, but what it is, it's a coaching program I'm involved in with you people up from Canada. I'm bringing it down here to California, and that's also big thing for me. I'm passionate about it, and yeah, that's everything in a nutshell.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, so we'll just continue with the Women of Iron. I mean, what was your draw to expand yourself and expand your business and start working with other women like that?
Yeah, so in not last year, but the year before, November. Yeah, was it November? In 2019, I've been through some personal, I would call it a little bit of a nightmare, and I was a little bit lost. I've been practicing for a while, and then on top of it, having to deal with personal BS. I did not know what to do, so as we all go sometimes on Facebook and we scroll through it, and then I saw Dr. Ed, and I read it and I didn't really pay attention, and then he popped up again, and I read it a little bit more, and he was talking about Men of Iron, and he posted some crazy videos of men in the ocean, and I was thinking at that point, oh, that's kind of looks like fun, but too bad he has nothing for women, right? And then a couple of weeks later, I see he's introducing Women of Iron, the first episode. So I called him up, or I don't even know, direct messaged him, and make a long story short, I was on a plane to British Columbia, end of 2019. I had no idea what I got myself into, but I needed something. So Women of Iron it was. So I met some incredible women, and for people who don't know what Women of Iron is, you get thrown into the arena, and you start sweating, and you have to open up, and you have to become vulnerable, which is kind of difficult for Germans because we don't get vulnerable, and you have to deal with your little issues. And so you spend a whole weekend just pushing yourself physically and emotionally, and you come out differently. It's really hard to explain to people who never experienced it. But what's also really, really important throughout the whole process is you don't go home and, okay, that's it. You had an awesome life-changing weekend, and now you're just dropping back into your normal life. It's an ongoing process. The women you went through together through that weekend, you stay connected and you stay into the flow, I call it, right? You have to be accountable for your stuff, and you set goals and targets, and you meet on a weekly basis, and you get pushed and you push, and you become, I know it sounds pretty cheesy, you become a sisterhood, and it's very inspiring, and it just feels good.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what
the
yeah.
accountability support. I always think that when people feel supported, whether it's in our personal relationships or professionally, anything is possible,
Oh,
right?
totally.
You feel you have the support and people that see the things in you that sometimes we don't even see in ourselves, and can help us remove the stories, the barriers, our limiting beliefs, like whatever it is that might be holding us back. So is that something now that, you teach women in your own programs, the things that you learned from that program?
Yeah, so as I said, I went through the program myself in 2019, and then I went back in the beginning of 2020 when we were still be able to travel, and I saw the whole process from the other side as a trainer with Dr. Ed and Dr. Ryan, and I got all the intel how to do it, and afterwards I created my own Women of Iron here in California. I'm been coaching, and it's insightful, and it's very fulfilling, and I think for both sides, not only for me but also for the women on the other side.
Yeah, I would say that I've discovered that I love working with people in my private practice here and seeing health change, but I just as much find a tremendous amount of joy from working with clients and watching their business change or their relationships change or their life change. It's another type of joy. So if there were to, be a consistent theme, let's say, that you observe with your clients in Women of Iron, something that holds a lot of women back maybe, or just something that you're observing, what would that be? And then do you have a solution? Because I'm imagining, some people watching this or listening to this might resonate with something like that.
Yeah, I think, and I can only talk for myself. I think it's the ego telling us on the one side, that ego saying, what are you trying to do? And the other side of the ego saying, no, you never can do that. Why are you even, trying to be someone you're not going to be anyway, right? There are other people who will achieve more than you ever will do. And I think that holds a lot of women back, because we are so good in finding evidence of our beliefs, as you said, right? Yeah, well, that's why I cannot do it. I shouldn't do it because I have 2 boys at home right now. I don't have time to meditate. I don't actually want to meditate because, and it goes on and on. It's almost like that loop of negative feedback we give to each other. And breaking that loop sounds really easy, but it isn't. It's you have to create, and I see it for myself, you have to create that traction of changing daily habits of, okay, so you want to get from point A to point B. So how are we going to get you there? And it's not just by wishful thinking, setting goals and having really awesome goal boards. You have to do one thing every single day to get to that goal. And in order to do so, you have to actually figure out, what are your values? Because if your goal is not aligned with your values and kind of your mission in life, you're not going to achieve it, because then it becomes another work, another chore, I really don't want to do it. But when you get to that really sweet spot where you figure out what are your values, or the values of women who are I'm coaching, and they're getting excited, and you see it in their face, they actually light up. It becomes kind of effortless. Yeah. So
we touched on a couple of things there. The importance of habits. And listeners, I'll be sure to reference both Dr. Ed Osburn and Dr. Ryan Doyle have been on the podcast. So I will drop some links into their episode. I know that Dr. Ryan Doyle spoke a lot about habits and habits that are consistent and how they can change your daily success rates. But you also mentioned values. And I think that's also something that is foundational for our happiness and our business success too. A lot of docs, when I work with them, I say, you know, what are your business values? And they've never done this exercise, or they don't really have a lot of clarity on what their personal values are. And so then they're letting a lot of things into their life that don't really fit with actually who they are. So did you have that experience? Did you find that there was a gap at one point, or did you find that your values changed when you became a mother, or as you went through different phases of your life?
I think I went into autopilot. I never thought about, so what are my values? What are the things which really thrive me, and what are the things which light me up? So it's just an awareness you create. We all have some values, whether it's family, we want to go on an adventure. But when you start digging in and actually seeing what is me, who I am personally, and then you look at other people and you realize, oh, I shouldn't be, angry, frustrated, or disappointed, because they just have different kind of values. And that's why we're not able to connect, whether it's in the office, right, with your patient or your associates or with your staff. And sometimes it doesn't click, and then we either start blaming ourselves or the other person. But when you get to the point where you realize, well, you know what, our values didn't really sink in, and it's nobody's fault. I think that's a really, really important point to get, where you're not only figuring out what are your values, but you're looking at other people differently. You're much more, what's a good word? As I said, aware of where they're coming from. And, there's really no place for judgment then, or less judgment. We still judge people.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying about being on autopilot, because I think that's something that everyone can relate to at some point in their life, whether you have young children and you're just trying to get through the days of, meals and bedtimes and schoolwork and then practice. And, or as kids get older and your life evolves, like we all get sometimes just stuck on that treadmill of just going along with the flow and not taking it time to step back. And so, wait a second, am I actually happy here?
Yeah, totally. I don't remember a time between 2011 and 2014. This year's just went by like, I have no recollection. Luckily, we have Google Photos, so we can look at our photos to see, oh, yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
Right? And I think a lot of people go through that autopilot, that cruise control. And the reason why we do it is because we don't spend extra time every week to go over a plan. Okay, what do I really want to achieve this week? What are my main focus? What is the one thing I have to get done? Because it's so easy to say, well, you know what, today is Monday. It's a long weekend I had before, I can do it on Tuesday. And then Tuesday goes by, and then, it's Friday and we haven't gotten anything done. So getting out of that hamster wheel, everyone is frustrated about, oh, I'm on that hamster wheel and my life goes by. Well, we all have choices. So we can stop that hamster wheel, get off it, and, make choices and create
changes.
A plan. Make a plan. So what we do at Women of Iron, me as a coach, but also still as a client, every Sunday I have to write down what am I going to do during the week, not only for the business aspect, but body. Am I going to work out? When am I going to do breathing? When am I going to go and see the chiropractor, the acupuncturist? When am I going to have family dinners? Am I going to go on a date with someone? And when you have that all written down and kind of planned, you don't really have to think about it. It's already there, and you will be able to achieve so much more. Yep.
So are there some habits that you are non-negotiable for you, or you just try to do everything?
That's a problem, and I'm not perfect by all means. But yeah, I have my non-negotiables where, I have to take care of myself, because if I don't take care of myself, I'm kind of worthless. I need to connect with my boys. I have to have family dinners with them, whether they want to or not. And the same goes with business. We have to stay on top. Otherwise, little holes will come up, and so little holes become big holes, and then, we all get frustrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we learn it obviously through experience, the kind of life that we want, and sometimes we learn the kind of life that we want by really realizing what we don't want, right? And
Totally.
having that disconnection from our kids, or just overwhelm or stress or anxiety, and dealing with personal things that come up. So I'm glad that you've had that kind of, transformation, so to speak, for yourself, and you're sharing it with other people. Let's talk about mom life. You're a coach, you're running a busy chiropractic office, and you have a teenager and a 10-year-old. And how do you manage it all? Do you have some strategies that help you stay productive, that help you stay sane, healthy?
Yeah, well, I would love to tell you, everything it's just peachy and they're doing great and they are so good adjusted to COVID, and we have, everything it's just going smoothly, but it isn't. It's it's kind of a daily shit show, and then you go to bed as a mom, and you're like, dang it, I didn't get that done, and my children will be will not make it to college, or they will not make it to high school. And then again, you're starting that guilt and shame kind of talk. And you have to step back and realize, okay, we're all trying to do our best, especially with COVID right now. Schools are not open in California. I don't know how it is in Canada. So we do homeschooling. So I bring them to my office. They have their own rooms, and they do their Zoom calls, and sometimes they come into my room and I check on them, and that actually goes really well. But we all want to go out, we all want to go travel, and we want to all go on an adventure, and it's kind of on hold right now. So we have to adjust and be flexible. But as I think kids nowadays, they are really resilient, and they sometimes are actually better in adjusting in the new life we're living right now than us adults. So they're doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly not alone in having to adapt. And my sons aren't. My youngest son, and he's been learning online as well for the past 6 months, and he's happy and healthy and making the best of it. So that's a good sign as a mom. I used to think at different times like, oh, I need to do more for my kids, but really what they needed the most was my presence, right? They needed my connection, and they needed my love and support, and obviously they needed, clothing and healthy meals and school support and all that. But really, when I was pushing myself so hard, sometimes I took a step back and thought, no, my kids have everything they actually need. They've never gone without. They've played all the sports they wanted. They're getting healthy meals. What they really just need is more of my time. And when I was able to make that shift and connect with them more, I've certainly never looked back. So have you had any times in practice where you were looking to shake things up or shift things, and you worked with any, chiropractic groups, mentors, resources, anything that's really helped you professionally in your chiropractic practice?
Yeah, I did a big shift, and I think it was in 2016. I had a fairly busy practice, but I was very insurance-based. Well, not very, I was insurance-based. It's as you probably know, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of you have to call the insurance companies, and there's some person on other line somewhere telling you, well, you shouldn't treat that patient for more than 8 times, and it becomes really frustrating and tiresome. So I pretty much changed how I was practicing, not kind of overnight, but pretty much overnight. I got myself a mentor, a business coach. I do New Beginnings with Dr. Baker from Colorado, and I'm very happy. My practice is booming, and I can talk, and I can be as authentic as I want to be, and I don't have that little monkey sitting on my shoulder anymore, which is called insurance companies, right? And it's great. I would recommend it to anyone who ever thinks, so, should I switch from insurance to cash? Yeah, just go for it. And people see the value. People really, really see the value of what we do. It's all in our heads well, should I see them that often? What if they cannot afford it? We gotta let that go. And I think it's difficult, especially in a healthcare industry, because we are all drawn to what we do for a lot of reasons. We want to help people, right? We want to give them values, and also we want to make sure their families are taken care of. And sometimes we forget, well, we should get reimbursed for our work, right? And when we get to the point where we realize, you know what, yeah, I'm worth it. I'm giving something, and I should get something in return. It's a great feeling.
Mm-hmm. Well, and thank you for sharing that. You know, it certainly a lot of docs listening might be curious to make that move, and they might have some hesitation or some fear around doing so.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you saying that. And what helped you? I mean, if you had any fear or any, you know, in taking that leap of saying, I'm not going to deal with insurance, I'm going to go cash based now. Did you have any hesitation or fear? And if so, how did you move through that?
Absolutely. I try not to remember that time, but I probably had some fear and some sleepless nights, because here's the thing, did I lose a couple patients who went to other chiropractors who took the insurance? Absolutely. And that's okay. Did I kept a lot of my older patient? Absolutely. Yeah. It's I think it's our fear of rejection and being left alone, and now nobody comes in, and no, it's not. And people who leave, and that's totally, you know, you respect their decisions, but new people coming in, you just open the door for new patients. Yeah. So what I would recommend to someone who wants to do it, it's a leap of faith. Just do it. You know, as simple as that sounds, we all experience fear in our life. But someone said once, the difference between excitement and fear is just one breath. So just breathe through it and realize it will be fine. Have a plan and stick with it. You know, the universe will throw you know, a couple rocks, and you know, everyone goes through it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sticking
and it's how
with
you
it.
come out stronger, right?
Yeah, having a plan, and not getting thrown off by people telling you what to do and what not to do. It's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up here today, if you were to, you know, drop your best piece of advice for doctors listening, you know, whether it's something to do with growing a practice, or, you know, living a healthy life, or balancing family and work, or mindset, what would your piece of advice be?
Give yourself a pat on the shoulders once in a while. Realize that you're doing good. Okay. Don't push yourself down, that negative self-talk. Find people you can sink in with. Find yourself a mentor. Find yourself a business coach. Find yourself a community you can relate to, and find people who push you, and not just when you fall down, try to make you feel better. That's probably the biggest advice I have for business, and for private life, especially as a mom. Be selfish. It's okay to be selfish. You know, everyone will gain from it. Your kids will gain from it, because they will say, oh yeah, mom is actually taking care of herself. Mom is doing what makes her happy, and that gives them the permission to do what they want to do in life. So yeah, be selfish.
Yeah, and sometimes, well, I think many times as parents, you can't appreciate the lessons your children are observing and you know, taking in when we're just living our daily lives. You know, we're so focused on, oh, I need to do this, but then my sons, and your sons are old enough too, maybe they've shared things with you, but my sons will say to me now, and they're 16 and 18, like, I was really proud of you, Mom, when you did this, or I recognize, like, they see things from their own little lens. And I mean, that made me feel like I did, I've done good, you know, as a mother, when I recognize that, you know, the times that were the craziest for me, when I was rebuilding my practice, you know, moving, simplifying things, starting to coach, like these times that I think of being really overwhelming and busy, my kids were observing me in a very different light, and they can look back now and give me that kind of feedback. So you're right. I mean, sometimes what seems is, you know, we're being selfish. It just means that we're actually living our fullest life and being models for our children rather than martyrs.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, kids, they just want to be seen and heard too, as we want to. So as long as we give them the opportunity and let them grow up as their own individuals, they're going to be fine.
Yeah. And I also love what you said about remembering that you're doing well, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we get so focused on where we want to go. A lot of docs I speak with are, ambitious, and they're drivers, and they want to push forward and grow and do all these things, but you don't take a step back and go, I'm doing all right where I am, and celebrating the wins that you have, day to day. I know that it was recently that Dr. Jason Richardson, he's one of the other coaches in one of the programs I work with, and he said, it's okay to celebrate where you're at while still striving for more.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think we forget that. So thank you for the reminder today.
Good. Yeah. Good.
All right, listeners, if you want to connect with Dr. Andrea, be sure to check out the show notes and connect with her programs with Women of Iron. If you want to attend, if you want to work with her as a coach, if you want to just learn more about, her life and business. I want to thank you for your time today, Andrea, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you. Have a good one, Melissa.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. Find out more about today's guests and everything else that we talked about in the show notes. You can also find all this content and so much more, including videos, blog posts, and how you can work with me on the Rockstar Dr. Life website. If you haven't yet reviewed the show, we'd love it if you headed on over to iTunes, subscribe, and leave us a review about what your thoughts are about future episodes for the show and what you like best. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram at Melissa Longo DC, and of course on Facebook. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.